everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. And today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he's a film composer. And listen, he has a lot of projects on tap right now, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Badlands, Hunt, Chase, Kill, and I like this title, Swine and Dine.
Yeah,
I, yes.
that's a fun one. It's a fun title, fun movie too, for that matter.
I have with us Bobby Kara. Bobby, welcome to the Horror Realm.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure having you on, man. Listen, I am a so when people ask me what is my favorite horror movie, I always say Halloween 1978, and it is because of the score. I mean, that score definitely makes you terrified before you even see Michael Myers or even see
Yeah,
anything happen. So, how did you tell us a little bit of how you got into film composing, especially in indie horror?
sure. So I was always into music even before I started composing stuff for film, and I played in a few different bands. I did a variety of different genres as well, like some prog rock stuff, a lot of R&B, funk and soul, some jazz and fusion, and so I was doing a lot of that stuff and listening to a fair amount of not just that music, but a lot of orchestral stuff too. But before I was ever involved in film music, and then I ended up going after I was already involved in music and had kind of learned a lot of, shall I say, street stuff as far as music theory goes and stuff that was a little on the jazzier side of things. I ended up going to a university and getting my music degree with a focus in composition, and then also getting my teaching credentials and so on. And that was so that I could basically not only have the ability to get a day job involving music, but so that I can fill in all of the educational gaps that I knew I had in my knowledge base of music at the time. And so what I did after that was eventually I just got into teaching. I tried to get into composing and doing a lot of commissioned work, not necessarily film, although that was something that I did kind of have in mind. It just wasn't the only thing. I tried getting into that stuff more than 10 years ago. And a big factor for me at the time was every single project that was looking for a composer that I tried to get involved in, they had prerequisites regarding certain equipment and software. And 99% of the time, whatever equipment, whatever software they said that they wanted the composer to use for whatever reason or lack of reason, it was just too damn expensive for me to have at the time. It was one of the look. I just got out of school and I've got other things that I've got to do. There are other real life situations I have to deal with before I can afford some crazy software, which at the time was more of a necessity. So you fast forward more than 10 years. This goes to about a year ago, roughly a year and change ago from now. And by this point in time, a lot of the technology that we have kind of caught up in a way that I don't necessarily need certain software or equipment in order to work in the field anymore. And I always had the knowledge base. And it's not like I didn't do anything with music from that point forward. But the composing, especially on the professional end, I pretty much had to put on the back burner. And to be completely honest, um, when I got into composing for film a little more than a year ago, it was actually July last year when I started doing it specifically for film. By that point, I had all but completely given up on potentially composing stuff in a way that would be at a professional level and potentially maybe that I could turn into eventually a full-time career. I'm not quite at that point now, but it is a goal now. And I saw an ad that a friend of mine put on Facebook. And keep in mind, the idea for me to compose music in film and to compose professionally in or out of film, outside of any band work that I was doing, had all but completely disappeared. It was like this little like glimmer, like if you could take a little grain of like, you know, like the little containers of Jimmy's or like rainbow sprinkles, and you
Yeah.
take one, maybe rub it in the dirt a little bit, and then throw it in someone's back pocket. That was pretty much the amount of expectation that I had to be able to get into this by that point. So a friend of mine, Amanda, who is in Hunt Chase Kill, she plays basically the lead character. She was someone who I'd kept in touch with on social media. I knew her since high school, even before high school. And I hadn't seen her in person in over a decade. And I saw that she was posting the Seed and Spark campaign for Hunt Chase Kill. And I happened to click into it and look. I'm like, oh, let me see what she's doing, because I know that she's been doing a variety of different things involving film, stage, involving modeling. Let me see what she's doing. And then I took a look at the campaign, and they had composer as a stretch goal. And so the wheels kind of started turning a little bit. It was like in Despicable Me, where he's like light bulb,
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, but it wasn't like a full bright. It was like a little flicker. Like, maybe I could see if I can do this. I didn't have a portfolio. I had like nothing. I had people knowing that I knew how to do it, and that was about it.
Mhm.
So I messaged her and said, like, look, I just saw that you've got this going right now. Do you guys actually need a composer? And I was telling her, like, look, even if you don't reach the stretch goal to pay a composer, this is something that I would like to get into doing potentially, and I'm fine doing it for nothing if I have to, because I need something to put on my resume, and I need to get the experience and to start making some connections. So I didn't expect to hear back from her. I kind of figured they've got to have somebody by this point or whatnot. Well, she got back to me. Hey, sure, absolutely. It was great hearing from you. Let me put you in touch with the director and writer and see what you guys come up with. We got along really well. A couple of weeks later, he sent me a scene after it was filmed to see what I could do with it, which he ended up really liking what I did. And from that point, he officially brought me on board. I eventually went to the set and met everybody in person and helped out in that regard as well. Not that I had to, but when I have the ability to do so, I like doing that. I like still meeting people in person when I'm able to, when I'm not working with someone on the other side of the country or something like that.
Mhm.
And so we got along really well. And from there, I ended up making a lot of connections. I became friends with quite a number of people who were on that film. And after they wrapped, uh, I kept in touch with them on Facebook. And because of that, I saw all these other films that they were involved in. It was like, which I didn't even know. I had no friggin' clue. And so I'm looking and I'm like, every other day they're posting like, all right, this project's coming out, that project's coming out. I'm like, damn. And so again, the wheel, like the little flickering light bulb is starting to get a little brighter now. I'm like, let me just reach out to some of these people who are making these. Let me reach out to the producers, the writers, the directors. I'm literally like looking up the films. I'm like reverse engineering all the posts so that I can see who actually is writing, directing, or producing the stuff, and then I'm looking them up and messaging them. And at the time, like you got to realize that I'm not exactly the most tech savvy person when it comes to social media. I've been learning as I go. I messaged a bunch of people, and chances are like 1% of them actually saw the message, because if I didn't even know at the time that you had to be friends with someone on Facebook. Otherwise, there's a
Yeah.
huge chance your messages go into spam or message
Yeah.
requests. And maybe if
Unfortunately.
you're lucky, like they'll see it 4 months later.
Hmm.
So for a while, I was like, man, these people are being assholes. You could have at least got back to me and said no. That would have been fine. Like, they're not even returning my messages. Like, god damn, really? But then I realized afterwards, like, oh, maybe 2 people saw those messages that I sent out to like 40 people or whatever it was. And so I literally was like, okay, got to change tactics. And I started contacting them in the freaking comments section, like just guerrilla style, like going in and like border like that version, the comments version of cold calling.
Hmm.
Um, and for every 5 or 6 people who either said no, they already got somebody, or who didn't get back to me at all, there were like 1 or 2 or 3 who did get back to me, and I eventually got more work that way. That was actually how I got the Swine and Dine gig, and I didn't put two and two together until after I met people in person when I was on set for Swine and Dine. That was when I realized that Ron Black and Chris Ave of Swine and Dine actually knew Paul Sutton from Hunt Chase Kill. It was like, oh, wait a minute, these guys actually have worked together before. And so eventually it kept snowballing into where I got more gigs, met more people, and now I've got like a good handful of projects that I'm working on that hopefully will come into fruition in the next maybe 3 to 6 months, give or take.
Nice. Now, listen, I am fascinated about, music and horror, which seems like something that's getting a resurgence, because kind of died off for a while, but like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's coming back now because it is so important. Music builds that suspense in horror. Now take us through your mind when a filmmaker gives you a scene. did you get their do you get their feedback on exactly what their expectation, what they're looking for in the scene, or do you look at a scene, or you just go in and like, I have this vision, I'm gonna start piecing together?
Uh, it's a little bit of both. I will always ask what they're looking for because I want to make sure I'm making them happy. I want to make sure that they are satisfied with what I'm giving them. And then at the same time, even if there's stuff they don't tell me, there are going to be things that will pop up that I'm going to pick up on based on how it's filmed, the camera angles, the lighting, the overall tone they're looking for. And a lot of times it'll be just stuff they've described to me as well, where, okay, yes, you got the stuff that they will specifically say they'd like to have in there. And
Hmm.
then at the same time, there's other information that you're going to kind of just pick up on based on what they've said and based on how a scene is shot. And that's kind of where I'll kind of mesh both of those things and kind of put together the ideas as I go. Sometimes I will have an entire structure of songs, like I'll have like 5 or 6 ideas already laid out for something based on that. If I've had that conversation a few times with the writer and or director and haven't gotten any scenes yet because they haven't been filmed or they haven't been fully edited yet. And so I'll have stuff to work with already. The positives and negatives there. Positive, hey, I got material to work with already, and I just got to set it to the scenes. The negative there is sometimes you will realize by just right in the moment that some stuff is not going to work for a project. And I always have to approach it with that mentality of, okay, I might put these concept ideas down, but I have to keep it in the back of my head that like it can't be an ego thing of, well, this is the thing I came up with, this is what we're putting in. Like I got to keep it in mind that okay, that idea is not going to work for this film. Every now
Hmm.
and then that's going to happen. And every now and then because of that, I'll either take what I did and adjust it and make some tweak ups to it so it does properly fit, or I'll just realize, nope, I got to scrap that idea. I'll take it and maybe set it aside for a completely different project down the road, even if it's months later. Um, that was what happened with Hunt Chase Kill. I was able to set a whole bunch of ideas up, and then the scenes started pouring in some months later, not counting like 2 scenes that I got real early on. And 90% of what I did on those concept pieces found their way into the movie, and appropriately so. There were 1 or 2 ideas that I came up with that were like pieces that were like a minute or two long that I set and was like, this would be a good theme for this particular character that eventually I realized didn't quite fit the moment or didn't quite fit that character or maybe didn't quite fit the entire movie. And sometimes it's a practical thing of I don't have time to put this in here. This is a new theme I'm introducing. Doesn't quite make sense. Sometimes that's a good thing, and other times it just doesn't make sense. And you got to realize, hey, pull that out and use an adaptation of something you already have. You know, you want to make sure that the movie is going to sound consistent. However, I approach it though, and I don't always approach everything the same way. There are some projects, especially if it's a short film, where I might have a 1 or 2 general ideas. Those might be fully developed. They might be just little snippets, but I got to see the whole film in order to really see where I'm going to lay that out, especially in the world of a short film where it's only 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
8 minutes, or whatever it might be. Doesn't make sense for me to have a whole, huge string of songs that wouldn't even technically fit in there. But little ideas are fine, So ultimately, at the end of the day, though, however I do that, it's got to be something that 2 things have to happen. Well, technically 3 things, but one thing is it's got to make the people making the film happy. The writer, the director, the producers, especially the writer and director, they need to be happy with what I'm giving them. Second thing is overall big picture, it has to make the movie better. It has to fit the film and it has to make it a better film. Otherwise, it shouldn't be there. If it's not making it a better film, then something went wrong there. Or maybe it was something that didn't require as much music. The third thing is on a more personal level. Um, to be honest, I have to end up not looking like an incompetent asshole.
That's always important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, first of all, you've got to make sure that you're being professional and showing a lot of respect to the people you're working with, not just to not look like an asshole, but because that's what just a human being should do. But the second thing is, at the end of the day, when everything is all set, your name is on that film. So if something's not right with the music, whether it's something that I did personally or how something is edited, I've been on projects where things got, and this is like early on, some of the earlier projects I got, there were a couple, I'm not going to name anybody or anything like that and be an asshole or anything, but there were a couple where the other individuals on the other side couldn't quite sync the music up where it needed to be. And I tried helping in that department as much as I could, but at the end of the day, they still decided to put it in a particular spot, despite me saying that it's not going to line up. It's not going to line up. And it was one of those things of like, then I'd look at the finished product and be kind of like, oh. And I'm not talking about one little moment. I'm talking about, because here's the film and here's where the music got put, an entire 15 or 20 minutes or an entire 6 or 7 minutes got thrown off. And that's what I mean by, well, I need to make sure that I don't look like I don't know what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah. Now, you're also working on a lot of, established IP fan films like, Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When you do those kind of projects, do you go back and look at some of the, previous source material to see, okay, I'm gonna try to give it that feel, or do you just try something completely new?
that's a great question. And that's a really important question too. That's a twofold. The short part of that, I guess, exhibit A, so to say, is what do the people making it want? I've been on projects where they wanted just a recreation of something that was exactly already the way it was, which no problem. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'll alter it a little bit so that it fits the scene.
Hmm.
I might need to change the where a certain cue comes in because someone got stabbed or someone's shoulder got grabbed at a given point, and I need to add another thing in there to emphasize that. But for the most part, if that's what they want, that's what I'm going to give them. Most projects that are fan projects that I've been on and that I'm on currently, they want a different idea in there. Whether it's something completely different, but stays true to the atmosphere and tone of the franchise, or it's something that kind of takes a general direction that some of the previous music took, but does something new with it. And that's something, again, I've done both. Um, for one, I had to come up with and this is something that might not come out for quite a bit, but I had to come up with a variation on the Halloween theme. And this is a project where it was kind of like the Last Nightmare stuff, where you have
Hmm.
Mike Gibante, who did a friggin' awesome job. Are you familiar with those, by the way?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, so the way he took the Halloween idea, and a lot of that stuff is still in there. That DNA is still there, but he very much did his own thing with it. So there's a project where I needed to do that, and it's something that might not come out for a very long time. So I don't want to spoil what it is. If I mention what it is, it'll give away something, and I don't want to be that guy. Um, then there are the Friday the 13th projects. One that I'll shine some light on right now, because I mentioned the other of the two in a previous episode that I did on a podcast, but one that I haven't really had a chance to talk about as much is the one that I sent you the pictures of. That's Jason Chapter 1. In that, Brandon Spaz Parmley is the guy who's writing and directing that. He also is the guy who designed Jason for this particular series of films. So he handcrafted the mask that's in there, the headpiece, and made the costume. And he has already a full script for it. And the idea is going to be at least 3 feature-length films. They're retelling the entire story. So it's basically a
Wow.
reboot or remake of sorts. And he's doing his own thing with it. Like, for example, it will take place, some of the earliest events will take place in 1990 as opposed to the 50s or 60s. And so some of the events that lead up to certain stuff will be a little bit different. And I've read the screenplay. It's very, very good. It's a really awesome take on the source material. And so in that, he specifically told me, what I want you to do is have a particular feel of, like, it feels like Friday the 13th, like it would belong in that universe, but do something new with it, something fresh with it. I don't want it to just sound like Harry Manfredini or Fred Molin's music.
Mhm.
And he gave me a couple of examples of some stock stuff that he had been listening to, just to kind of let me know the direction he wanted to go into. And so I took that idea and ran with it, and that's what I've been working with for that particular set of films. Which hopefully the trailer. I know they just finished filming the material for a trailer that's going to be coming out in a little while. Hopefully that will be coming out not terribly long from now, and I'll have my music in that particular trailer too.
Listen, Bobby, I am so glad that you, like I said, I am a huge fan of, that music and horror. And I think it's been something that's been missing since the Screamer first came out. Like they kind of ditched music for decades when it came to horror.
I know what you're talking about. Like I personally feel like not all, but a fair amount of like the early, not early 2000s, but the decade of the 2000s
Hmm.
fell victim to that.
Yeah,
Not all of it, but I think a noticeable number of films fell victim to that.
yeah. And I'm glad it's coming back because I mean, you need that music because it builds the environment.
Yeah,
It's just those sound effects, even like with, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just certain little things like that.
yeah,
It has you sitting on the edge of your seat before anything even pops up on camera.
yeah. That was what I when I did that film, the Badlands one. Really cool guys who made that, and that was another project where I literally saw them post something, and I got in touch with them as a result. And I was like, "Do you need a composer for it?" And so I ended up doing that. Turns out the guys who did that are also wrestlers out in I
Oh,
believe it's Arizona. And so I ended up also, after I did that, they asked me if I'd be willing to compose an entrance theme for them as well. And so I ended up also doing that. And now those same guys are also sending me a new film that they're working on. Stuff that I like, they're not fully done with it yet. And like they only have like a temporary title for it and whatnot. So I couldn't really speak very much on it yet. I only got like a little bit of footage from it. But all of that because I made like a comment and sent the message. It's one of those the worst someone can do is say no types of situations. And pet, like I have had to tell myself that a lot. I get in like major ass imposter syndrome a lot of the time, like thinking that like I'll always get inside my own head and think I'm not good enough and that like what I'm doing isn't enough and that I'm not going to be able, and I pretty much have to like force that away. And I always will tell myself the worst someone's going to say is no, either
yeah,
because they already got somebody or just they don't friggin' want me there. And it's like, okay, move on, you know? But that project, I had it in mind of man, the original Texas Chainsaw, that score is very atmospheric and textured. It's not like your
hmm,
typical melodies or anything like that. It's like if you compared it, for example, to the Halloween score, it is the total opposite of that.
yes,
There's not really a working melody, but that's what works so well for that specific film because it gives it that like raw, dirty type of
that
feel.
grind, yeah,
Yeah,
grindy,
like it
grimy.
it it feels like what you'd hear, and I wouldn't even say just sounds. It sounds and feels like
Hmm.
what you'd hear and feel if you were in like the middle of like a cellar in that house where that movie took place with a bunch of chains
Yes.
and hooks and raw meat all over the place,
Hmm.
and like
I
bones and
agree.
feathers.
It just
But
sounds disgusting. It just sounds
oh
absolutely
yeah.
disgusting and disturbing.
But yeah, for that film, I didn't want to just replicate that. So I
Hmm.
took some ideas from that and did something totally different with it. And that was what, they wanted something new. And they ended up liking what I did, fortunately. But for most fan projects, the the consensus from the people creating those projects has been do your own thing with it. Make it fit that world, but do something different with it.
Love it. So listen, Bobby, where can everyone find you and your work and get in contact with you?
I'm on YouTube and Facebook right now. It's literally the same spelling as my name there, just Bobby Cara on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, same name. And then I just Bobby Music Composer on YouTube. Literally just all one word, no caps or anything. Bobby Music Composer. I was just lucky that wasn't taken already. Wasn't sure if I was going to have to put numbers at the end or anything. But if you look that up on YouTube, I've got samples of some of my work from a variety of different films that I've worked on. In fact, probably in the next couple of months, after I finish up a few projects, I will be putting a lot of updates in there because I've got a lot of material I haven't loaded up yet for a lot of new projects.
Love it. Listen, everybody get over to YouTube. Definitely follow Bobby. Subscribe, like, and share. And listen, to all the filmmakers who watch my show, definitely hit him up as well because he definitely does some good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Well, listen, thank you for coming to the horror room. I'm Travis Bruce. That's Bobby Kara. And by the way, that's also Kit Kat making all that noise and doing his thing.
I've got a couple
So,
of them over here
yeah.
too. I get it.
So we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care, man. Thank you.